Hi there, my name is Riley Mann with the National Sports Media Association, and joining here with me today is John Rooke, the 2023 Rhode Island Sportscaster of the Year. Hi, John, how are you doing today?
Riley, I'm great. How are you doing?
Awesome, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Anytime. All right, to get started here, would you mind giving me like a brief introduction about you and what you're currently up to in the world of sports?
Uh, let's see, where do I start?
I know you're pretty busy.
I'm a teacher by profession. I'm a college professor at Dean College in Franklin, Massachusetts. And I do teach sports broadcasting and broadcast journalism. I have been the radio voice at Providence for 35 seasons. I have worked for the New England Patriots for 32 seasons. I spent 25 years in television. I spent 11 years at ESPN Radio. So I've kind of been here, there, and everywhere. But the last 19 or 20 since I started teaching have been particularly rewarding, and got a good group of kids and trying to, bring up the next generation of broadcast journalists and sports broadcasters the right way, hopefully.
That's awesome. Did you ever think that you'd be teaching or be kind of in this career path when you started in sports business?
Not a chance.
Really?
No, no, no shot. I couldn't wait to get out of school when I got out of school. But as it turns out, the opportunity presented itself. And, I had all this knowledge and I was wondering, if I could put it to use someday. And I started teaching at Emerson College in Boston, almost 2 decades ago. It was back in the early 2000s. And I got an opportunity from the person who was then the department chair of their journalism department. And I said, sure, why not? I'll give it a try. And I started out very slowly teaching one class and just kind of grew into it. And then Dean gave me a tremendous opportunity almost 10 years ago, a little over 9 years ago, and to develop something here at Dean. And we have a bachelor's degree program in sports broadcasting, one of the few schools that I know of that actually has that, certainly the smallest school, because we're a small liberal arts typical, New England liberal arts, Ivy League, Ivy covered, buildings at this place and only 1,200 undergraduate students. But we've, got a campus radio station. We have, campus television studios. Everything is, digitally armed and aimed. And, it's been a fantastic experience thus far, not only creating this, but also developing it and getting our graduates jobs, which is our main priority now. Sure.
That's awesome. That sounds like a great environment for your students as well. That's super cool.
Yeah,
With
it
that,
has been.
yeah, that's awesome. With that being said, I know that you mentioned that you have been working for the Patriots for 32 seasons, I believe. What's that been like? And I was doing some research as well. It said you're kind of the stadium voice. So could you give me a little bit about that and what are your motivations to keep going as you've been there for so long?
It started out, there was they had only had one previous public address announcer in their, previous, gosh, how many years have they been around now? 64, 65 years since they launched in 1960 with the old AFL. And they only had one person do it. The story, the quick version of it is that I was doing a live radio show on remote one night, and there happened to be three Patriots executives, marketing executives in the crowd, and they said that they liked the way that I engaged the audience. And they said, we're going to make a change for public address. Would you be interested in auditioning? And I'm like, sure. Is the Pope Catholic? So I went and we did, I think I did a quarter of a preseason game at old Foxborough Stadium, and they hired me. And I've been doing it ever since. So, I not only do that, but I also do a lot of public appearances for them, and also host a lot of public events for them. I host a radio show on their website and podcast on their website during the season, and I do it monthly during the off season. So I keep a year-round presence, with the Patriots and Patriots.com for the football fans that are involved, and use the contacts that I've built up over the years, through the places that I've worked and the people that I know to come on and be guests on that show from time to time. And so I keep a year-round football presence there. era, but I guess I've mostly been known around here as being a TV guy and a radio voice for Providence Friars in the Big East. So it's been interesting to say the least. But the public address job has been a lot of fun. I mean, that's just been pure fun. I mean, there's really only one day's worth of work that you do on game day, but I get there early so you can study the rosters and the two deep charts and go through pronunciations with the public relations folks on both sides. And then work with my spotter to identify how we want to call the game, and then our booth is right next door to the stats booth, so we're getting all the information that we need. And I have a computer in front of me that has a script involved that we follow along, and it's just kind of a routine, and it's been a lot of fun. And listen, anytime you get a chance to call, I think I've called eight. Yeah, I think it's been eight AFC championship games. I'm 7-1 in those games, so I feel like my batting average is pretty strong. There have been 6 Super Bowl championships won during this time as well. So I consider myself extraordinarily fortunate to be attached to a franchise that has had that kind of success.
That's super cool to hear, and that sounds awesome. Like I would love to shadow a day in your life. That sounds awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, if you want to do that, you're welcome to do that. Just put on your track shoes. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Hey, sounds
make
good.
Sure you get some sneakers.
All right. With that being said, it sounds like you do a lot of different things. Can you think off the top of your head, a standout moment or like in broadcasting from the past year that you believe played a significant role in earning this NSMA award?
Well, first of all, I have to admit that I was a little, I guess, taken aback by this because, I'm sort of around here, I'm sort of the warhorse, the old warhorse in a market that has some extremely talented young people in it, both television and radio. And Providence is a little unusual also in the fact Rhode Island is a little unusual in the fact and Dave Gorin, obviously your executive director, he knows this as well because he worked here in television, but it's constantly in the shadow of Boston. I spent a long time in Boston radio and Boston television as well. But I've always maintained this presence in Rhode Island through my affiliation with Providence College. For 35 consecutive years. No one's held a position longer than I have, even my predecessors in this one. And so it's been kind of weird for me to, I guess, work in both markets, so to speak. And like I said, in Rhode Island, it's right at around 50, 52 in the ADI ratings. And this is a market that's, generally, I think, looked at a lot of as a stepping stone market into places like, Boston and in New York, Philadelphia, all up and down the East Coast, especially. And so there are a lot of younger people here. I think of the TV anchors, there's one gentleman who's been at the NBC affiliate, who's a former award winner as well. His name's Frank Carpano. Frank's been here longer than I have. He's been here over 40 years, and I'm approaching 40 overall. But, the other television stations, I've got former students of mine who are also former award winners. Who have won Sportscaster of the Year in Rhode Island. Nick Coit and Ian Steele, who are at WLNE Channel 6. They were both my former students at Emerson College about 10 to 15 years ago. So that's been really a sense of pride that I've had than this. That's why this one came as a complete shock out of the blue for me. I've been happy to be was formerly NSSA and now NSMA, member. Because I think, it's great that we figure out a way to, bind together and share, shared experiences and lean on people so we can, navigate a business that's constantly changing and constantly redeveloping and just reforming itself. And so that part has been really cool. As far as a singular moment, I think it's just the success that the Friars have had on the basketball floor over the last couple of years, prior to this one that probably, got some attention. And I really believe strongly that, with the digital age now and so much streaming that's out there, that I think our work is getting exposed a little bit more through the internet and through audio streaming. And I think that's probably helped a little bit. And it's somewhat gratifying to know that people are listening.
That's awesome. Super rewarding for you, I'm sure. And congratulations again. And I have one more question for you.
Sure.
What are your goals or aspirations in your future career of sports broadcasting, and how do you continue to like build success as you progress throughout the years?
To get out alive.
You're
I mean,
funny.
I realize that that I'm not trying to be flip. I'm just trying to tell you that I know that there will be a day where I decide that's it,
Yeah.
and I haven't reached that yet. I still feel like I've got a ton of energy, and it's my students that largely provide the source of that energy. They're constantly amazing me. They're constantly impressing me by their knowledge and their ability to pick up what we're trying to teach here. And so I spend countless hours, mentoring with these, students because they all want to be, Mike Breens and Bob Costas's and Marv Alberts and they all want to do this stuff, and it's really amazing that they want to do that. And so my job is to try to set their feet on the path toward getting that kind of success. I can't give them that success; they have to earn that. I think, as most young broadcasters realize, this is an extraordinarily demanding business, and it's a business that can be extraordinarily rewarding as long as you put forth the effort. And so that's what I try to teach. Make sure that they learn how to do their homework and how they can go about networking and how they can kind of work their way up the ladder of success a little bit, kind of like I was fortunate in doing. Oh, good Lord, over 40 years ago now. I had somebody that, brought me along a little bit, and I was very lucky. I got a job in the NBA when I was 23 years old, and, spent 6 years working for the San Antonio Spurs a long time ago. And before I delved into television after that, and then came back to radio. And I've always said that I guess radio is kind of like a long lost girlfriend. I couldn't wait to run back to her. And that's really the way that it's been for me, with, radio overall. And I try to share some of that passion with my students. And when I no longer feel like I have that passion, I think it'll be time for me to step aside.
That's awesome. And I would love to be a student of yours. You sound like you're so motivating, and it's got to be super exhilarating for you to know that you have kids and students underneath you that are ready to go far places. And so that's just awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. I mean, it's
Of
like I
course.
said, it's been extraordinarily rewarding.
Yeah.
I try to share some of that passion, in my broadcast, and hopefully, the fans, the people that follow Big East basketball in particular, it can pick up on that, and
Yes, sir.
clearly it caught the other NSMA members, and I'm somewhat gratified by that. So it's good to know that it's rubbing off.
Yes, sir. Of course. It's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Have a great day.